I very rarely have played live in England. And I'm going to Sunderland Empire and playing live, where I've never played since I was about 16 or 17. So that is obviously going to be pretty emotional for me.
Here comes the rain again, falling on my head like a memory, falling on my head like a new emotion.
When you're an ultimate rock insider like Dave Stewart, you can fly over the best session musicians from the States for your homecoming gigs and rehearse them in a huge studio in the basement of a London hotel which you just happen to have co-founded.
So baby, talk to me like lovers do. Walk with me like lovers do.
Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree?
Stewart's come a long way from the early days of the Eurythmics, when a lack of funds led to inspired lateral thinking.
Annie and I in a boardroom with like gold albums, sort of juxtapose it and inject some kind of, you know, flip it. A cow comes walking in the boardroom, like a huge cow, which is very difficult to get the cow to do this.
Yeah, because you couldn't sort of key it in those days.
Oh no, this was a real huge
Frisian
cow, yeah, wandering around, and Annie was a bit nervous about it. We didn't want to do anything that had anything to do with the pop charts or anything. We just wanted to experiment. And they put it on MTV in America, and it just exploded at the same time as the single was going up the charts. And we ended up being #1. And this video was just on like every bloody 15 minutes or something. So Annie and I arrived, and it was like being a newscaster or something, where you're on every night, but you're on like 20 times a day. So everybody knew who we were.
I'm sure many of our viewers who have fond memories of the Eurythmics would wonder, is it possible you'll do something together, an album, a short tour? What do you think?
I think Annie and I will be joined at the hip forever.
Who's that girl running around with you? Tell me.
We're bound to do something, and in what shape or form it might be, we don't know. But yeah, I would say we definitely will.
Just one thing. If I only earned some.
Stewart's written for and collaborated with everyone who's anyone in rock aristocracy. Dylan, Bono, one or two others.
Nothing wrong with you, I can't fix.
And his original way of thinking has been sought out by the great and the good.
Listen, Nelson Mandela wants to talk to you on the phone, and there was a speakerphone, and it was like nerve-wracking, and then he came on the phone. He was very funny. He went, "Oh, hello, Dave. So good of you to take my call." And I was like, "Yeah, right." And then he was talking about, you know, he wanted to turn the most negative number in his life of 30-odd years, a prison number he was only called by 46664. He wanted to turn it into a positive number. And I said, what about making it a telephone number? And then Nelson Mandela himself made the message when you rang it, "Hello, this is Nelson Mandela," and blah, blah. And then they could hear songs. And the longer they stayed on the phone, the more they were donating to launch, you know, the foundation.
Walk with me, baby.
Is there any truth in the story that you once entertained a notion that dogs might be able to talk, and you could investigate that and perhaps invest in it?
Well, no, it was actually not dogs. I once had the notion that hairless cats could possibly talk and be very comforting to older people.
Did you get anywhere with that?
I didn't get too far with it, no, because when I announced this idea at a press conference with Annie in Australia, I just was talking about it, and then we arrived in New Zealand, and the Hairless Cat Society turned up to meet me.
Were they keen or?
No, they weren't keen. They thought I was, you know, kind of taking the mickey out of them, but I wasn't.